Chapter 15, 24th of August to the 1st of September, started with a great day planning on a paper map for the Pamir highway. We were due to leave on Sunday, but Saturday night Nero realised she didn't have her passport anymore. We were pretty sure it was left at this sim shop, but that was shut on Sunday, so we did what we always do in a crisis and checked into the Hilton. Well, I did. Nero couldn't because she didn't have her passport. We thought we'd got away with it until just after 8 o'clock that evening, security rang the room to say I had been seen taking a young lady into my room, which was prohibited by the government. A combination of fast talking from me, charm from Nero, and help from the brilliant Hilton staff, we got through to Monday morning, fueled up on coffee, went to the sim shop, and there it was, still in the photocopier. So we didn't need to rename our trip London to Dushanbe, and we started the Pamir highway. This route is legendary in Central Asia. It used to be part of the Silk Road, climbs up to over 4,500 metres. You can see Afghanistan, Pakistan and China, as well as Tajikistan and Kyrgyzstan.
The first part of the route took us south on good roads, climbing past one of the largest reservoirs in the area, and through 80,000 miles on our landing, 14,000 of which had been on this trip so far. We reached our first military checkpoint and bumped into 14 cars and 28 drivers from Uzbekistan who were part of the Pokatish Rally Club and were great company along the route. We then dropped down to the river Panj, which separates Tajikistan from Afghanistan.
Quite emotional for us to be so close to Afghanistan, even though we can't actually go there. And this is in part because my birth mother Barbara has close connections with Afghan leaders who fought against the Taliban. These include the national hero Ahmed Shah Massoud, who drove the Russians out of Afghanistan in the 80s and was assassinated by Al-Qaeda suicide bombers just before 9/11. And also his son Ahmed Massoud, who led the recent resistance against the Taliban before crossing the border and this very river into Tajikistan and safety in 2021.
We then reached our first landslide.
Quick, he says, quick.
Then found a spot the army advised was safe to camp, paid for extra protection in suites, and settled down for a night under the stars.
There are a few factors which make this a tough trip. First, the quality of the roads, much of which are unsurfaced, whipping up dust which gets absolutely everywhere. In the car, in bags you thought were sealed, and certainly into your eyes and lungs. Indeed, large chunks of this road are still being blasted, and we didn't particularly want to get blown up or squashed, so there was a fair bit of waiting. In fact, this sign said the road was closed for 11 out of 12 hours that day.
Breaking news, the Uzbeks have had enough waiting and are making a run for it, and we're joining them. Very exciting. Ta-da! We're through the barrier. Don't tell anyone. Quick. It was rather enjoyable. We managed to break through the barrier that was stopping us getting through because there was a lot of roadworks, and somewhat surprisingly we've just hit the roadworks. So we're stuck again. Never mind.
This time the army stopped the blasting for us. The army regularly patrols along this border, and we thank them by covering them in dust. Very grateful though for their protection during the trip. Another tough factor is the temperature. Around this part it can get up to 50 degrees centigrades. On the higher ground it can get down to minus 50 in the winter.
It's very hot. 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We had to wait until 6 o'clock until they open the road again. is cooking.
Yet another stop, and then we got to an even bigger barrier, which was a landslide. About 30 lorries queuing here. This car was told it couldn't get through. This bus had about 10 people pushing it, which finally got it through, and then it was our turn. All got a bit easier after that, so we just had to make sure we didn't fall off a cliff, and the valley gradually opened out to much greener territory on both sides of the border, so both Afghanistan here and Tajikistan here. One last traffic jam, and gosh, if you ever think you're having a tricky day at work, you want to try doing this. And then after a very long day, we managed to find ourselves a decent place to camp for the night. Worked out we'd averaged less than 10 miles an hour that day, so no point in having a fast car. Well, day 3, August the 28th, we're setting off at 7 o'clock in the morning again, which is good. We're about 50k short from yesterday because of the hold-ups, so we're going to try and catch that up. Now hopefully we're going to look at a fortress and some hot springs if we make another 200k after the 50k catch-up. So quite a lot of driving again, but keep you posted. Stunning scenery from a town called Rushen through to a larger town called Karog, which gave us a choice of chicken or beef. Then spent about an hour in a hot spring, which was lovely, before deciding to turn right and add about 150k loop through the Wakhan Valley. Once again we experienced such friendliness. Almost the tougher the lives, the more friendly the locals. Did get a sense how close to the edge some people live, both on this side and on the other side. Actually, this is, we think, a Taliban that may have been armed, and certainly the army on the Tajiki side were very interested in him. And there are landmines around here. So when you see that sign, you've got to be careful where you camp for the night. And we continued along the valley and then found the Yang Chung fortress, which dates back around 1500 years. Stunning scenery again. And we kept driving and driving and driving into the nights, which we usually try and avoid, and eventually we found a homestay. Good, safe place to camp in the landy. In Tajikistan, and here's Nero with the very first touch of the Panj River, and then somewhat amazingly, there, 20 metres away, is Afghanistan. This is the closest we've been to it.
Day 4, we wanted to first head back about 20 kilometers to an old Buddhist shrine we would pass the previous night. Good chance to see the area again, which was full of manual farming with whole families harvesting the wheat by hand. One of the friendliest places we have visited, despite the poverty. We eventually got back to the Buddhist site where these 3 boys offered to guide us up the 1 kilometer track to the shrine and guard our landy. The shrine wasn't particularly impressive but did date back 1500 years. And it was nice to see the villagers farming and talk with kids. When we got back to the car, however, we noticed that the roof had been open and the canvas had a 30 centimeter cut through it, presumably by one of the kids trying to get in and steal. Quite upsetting for us, and maybe a reminder not to be too naive about the situation. Still, when you're down, you have got to climb back up again, and we set off to drive up the dirt track, zigzagging through the mountains to around 4,000 meters.
Really were in the middle of nowhere at this stage, and then we got to a military checkpoint where the soldier said, sorry, we're going to have to turn around and do a day's drive back again to get a photocopy of the electronic visa we'd clearly got on our phones. 15-minute negotiations, and we all agreed that $20 was a good, suitable admin fee to compensate the soldier for his inconvenience. And off we went, and about 50 metres past there, we bumped into two hitchhikers. We explained that we didn't have any room. They explained that they'd been waiting 24 hours for a car to pass by. So we juggled the bags and they did some impressive gymnastics, and off we went. This was not a comfortable road for us in the front, so goodness knows how Pasha and Rania got on in the back, but fair play to them. 50 kilometres along the road, we dropped them off onto the main Pamir highway again, and we headed off to Alichur. Luckily found an inn where we could park the landy and camp there, fix up the tear as best I could with a bit of gaffer tape, and then have some nice hot food, which went down really well. So it's the 30th of August today, and we're on the high plains on the Pamir highway. We're about 4,000 metres high. It's less than 10 degrees. There's nothing here. We're cold, we're tired, we've got a headache for the altitude, and we're really thinking we'd like to be in Harpenden, waking up and seeing our dogs and going and ordering an extra hot skinny cappuccino, please.
This area is real nomad territory, a high altitude desert with summer temperatures even at this altitude over 40 degrees, falling to minus 50 degrees in winter, making it largely uninhabitable. Livestock are shepherded to lower ground, and the snow leopards come down from the mountains. We stopped at the main town, Murgab, to refuel, and then bumped into our good friend Pasha and Rani again. This time we used the roof rack and upgraded the in-flight accommodation, and off we went again.
Next stop was the Ak-Baital Pass, which is at 4,655 metres. Get about half the oxygen compared to sea level at this altitude, but luckily, because we were elite athletes, we still managed to clamber around the place and make the most of it. Along the way, we saw these marmots all over the place. Really very cute. And then about 90 minutes on to Lake Karakul, where we'd spend the evening. You are a crazy man, Pavel. The water is about 10 degrees at most. Oh! You see, you always meet someone more crazy than you. And here he is. Well, it was a beautiful spot, and we met some other crazy people there as well, including Antonin, Cameron from Australia, Lena from Switzerland, Thomas from Germany. Settled in for a nice Russian sauna at the local inn. Can't show you the pictures, too explicit, I'm afraid. Next day, Pasha and Rani were off in a different direction. So, day 6, we said goodbye to the owner and then got ourselves a new passenger. Antonin, originally from France, moved to Mongolia when he was 21. Filmmaker in the area, so really nice to have his company, and we set off to cross the border from Tajikistan into Kyrgyzstan. One of the words you get to really dislike is holiday, and it was the Kyrgyzstan holiday of independence that day, so the border wasn't exactly humming. In fact, at one point the border guard said, "You two go to Kyrgyzstan, Antonin go back to Tajikistan." But we stuck together in a tricky situation, and eventually all of us got through. Then another couple of hours on to Sari Tash, then Sari Mogul to Mount Lenin base camp. Mount Lenin is just over 7,000 metres and is stunning, and apparently one of the easier 7,000 metre mountains to climb if you like that sort of thing. Seriously beautiful place. We had a quick check to make sure the dust had actually got absolutely everywhere, and then got ready for our first night in a yurt. Seemed appropriate that the temperature in the yurt ranged from about 40 degrees when the fire was burning as we slept, through to about -50 when we woke up. Good to be on the last leg of this route, and we had Antonin's company again, which again was great. So off we went to Osh. Final video clip then. So it is Sunday the 1st of September 2024, and here is
Anthony's room. Look at that. I know, it's fancy, isn't it? And is there anything you'd like to say about your room?
I miss it.
And we'll miss you too, Anthony. Tidy up of the landy and then some reflections. This is a really hard trip, even in a purpose-built 4x4. Was tough being so close to Afghanistan, where so many things are going wrong at the moment. Was great to meet some truly crazy travellers, and of course the highlight was the amazing locals. Overall, we loved it.